Welcome to the Deep Dive. So today we're going to dig into a book that honestly you've probably seen around a lot. Maybe it's popped up on bestseller lists, or maybe you even spotted it on a friend's shelf, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman.
It's definitely gained a lot of traction.
It really has. And when you hear that word stoic, what immediately comes to mind for most people? Probably someone, totally unemotional, maybe a bit rigid, poker-faced, keeping everything bottled up inside.
That's the common image for sure.
Right. But here's the thing that's actually, really fascinating and maybe even surprising. That popular idea, it does a huge disservice to what Stoicism, the actual philosophy, is all about. It's much richer than just not showing feelings.
That's such a vital point to make right off the bat, because this book, it isn't just another run-of-the-mill self-help thing. It's actually grounded in some really powerful new translations and fresh takes on ancient thinkers. We're talking Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus, exactly, the heavy hitters. And what the book gives you is, 366 meditations, one for each day, covering wisdom, perseverance, and really the art of living a good life.
A full year's worth.
Yeah, a daily practice. And you're right, while the English word stoic kind of morphed into meaning emotionless, the philosophy itself, it's vibrant, it's very action-oriented. It genuinely pushes you to shift your perspective, your whole paradigm on life.
So not just thinking, but doing.
Absolutely. And this wasn't some ivory tower philosophy just for academics. It was practiced by, everyone. Emperors, yes, but also slaves, merchants, people struggling, anyone looking for a better way to live. The core goal really is to help you live better by translating these ancient words into works. Actual actions and choices in your life today.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive, man. We're going to really unpack the Daily Stoic. We want to pull out the key insights, the most surprising bits, and see how this ancient wisdom isn't just old ideas, but incredibly relevant, incredibly practical for navigating modern life.
Real tools you can use.
Exactly. Insights that can actually make a difference day to day. It's about more than just knowing stuff. It's about maybe a bit of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into the foundations. The book kicks off, January 1st, with what it calls the single most important practice in Stoicism. Mm-hmm. And that's learning to differentiate between what we can change and what we can't.
Sounds simple, right?
Deceptively simple.
Yeah.
But actually internalizing that, really living that distinction. That's where the power is, isn't it? Knowing what's actually in your sphere of influence and what just isn't.
It absolutely is. And the book gives a great, really relatable example right away. It says, a flight is delayed because of weather. No amount of yelling at an airline representative will end a storm.
Yeah. We've all seen that person, or maybe been that person.
Exactly. And think about it. How much of our energy, our time, our, sanity do we waste on these kinds of unwinnable battles? Getting furious about traffic jams, railing against bad Wi-Fi, obsessing over things totally outside our control.
So much wasted energy.
A huge amount. The Stoics saw this centuries ago. It's not just pointless, it actually steals the time and focus we could be putting towards things we can influence, things that might actually lead somewhere positive.
And it's amazing how this idea echoes through time. The book even points out the connection to something super well known today, the serenity prayer.
Right. God grant me the serenity.
To accept the things I cannot change.
Right.
Courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. It just shows, doesn't it? This core truth about, what we control and what we need to accept it resonates across thousands of years, different cultures, different beliefs. It's fundamental.
It really is. And if you take that idea, focusing only on what you can control, it radically simplifies things. January 13th brings in Epictetus, who says something incredibly powerful. The circle of control contains just one thing. Your mind.
Just one thing. That's stark.
It is. Think about it. Not your body, really, that can get sick or injured.
Yeah.
Not your stuff that can be lost or broken. Definitely not what other people think of you.
Oh, yeah. Good luck controlling that.
Right. Not even your job, your reputation, the circumstances you were born into. Just mind, your judgments, your choices, your responses. Realizing that brings this incredible clarity, doesn't it? It cuts through so much noise and forces you to focus inward.
That focus inward on the mind. It's so central. And it leads us perfectly into what the Daily Stoic lays out as the big three disciplines of Stoicism. They overlap, but they're critical. Perception, action, and will. So let's maybe dig into the first two for now. Perception and action and how they apply, practically. How we manage what we see and how we choose to act. This is where the philosophy really hits the pavement.
Okay, perception first. The Stoics argue that achieving steadiness, stability, and tranquility, that inner calm, we all kind of crave it, doesn't come from trying to escape the world or eliminate every stressful thing. That's impossible, right?
Especially today. Good luck with that.
Exactly. Instead, calmness comes from how we filter the outside world. It comes through, as the book puts it, the straightener of our judgment. Epictetus points out, around January 10th and 11th, that if our first take on an event, our initial judgment is, like, skewed or flawed.
Then everything else gets messed up.
Pretty much. Your emotions, your reactions, your next decisions, they all follow that initial crooked judgment, and then you lose your ability to stay steady when life inevitably throws curveballs. It's about seeing that the event itself isn't inherently good or bad. It just is. It's our interpretation, our judgment about it that makes it seem good or bad to us.
Okay, but that feels especially tough in the world we live in now, right? Filtering our judgment. I mean, the book itself talks about this January 14th, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, the modern challenges.
Right. It mentions food scientists engineering products to exploit your taste buds, Silicon Valley engineers designing apps as addictive as gambling, media manufacturing outrage. We're constantly being poked and prodded, pulled by these external things, like we're puppets.
It's a constant bombardment.
It is. But Stoicism and this book, it calls on us to pay careful attention, to consciously decide, okay, am I being pulled by my values here, or am I just reacting? Like Viktor Frankl said, being pulled by values, not pushed by drives. It's about intentionally, consciously cutting those strings, taking back your internal remote control.
It's taking back control. That's a great way to put it. And that leads right into the second discipline, action. This is where you get, kind of ruthless with your time and energy, but ruthless in a good way.
How so?
It means learning to say no, firmly. Seneca talks about this around January 3rd. Saying no to invitations, to requests, to obligations, even to just the stuff everyone else seems to be doing, if it doesn't align with your purpose, your values.
That's hard for a lot of people. We feel obligated, or we have FOMO.
Totally. We feel like we have to say yes, have to be constantly busy, but the Stoics saw that as a kind of slavery, really, being earned by external demands. But it also means saying no internally to certain time-consuming emotions.
Like what?
Like pointless anger, excessive excitement that leads nowhere, constant distraction, obsession, lust. These things might seem small, but if you let them run wild, they just devour your mental energy. Your capacity for focused, purposeful action gets drained.
So clearing out the internal clutter, too.
Exactly. By saying no to what doesn't truly matter externally and internally, you free up this massive reserve of time and energy for the things that do.
It sounds like real self-mastery.
Yeah.
Taking charge of that inner world. The book has that great story, doesn't it, about the boxer Joe Louis, February 1st.
Yes, the ring robot.
Yeah, because he was just totally unemotional in the ring. And the point wasn't that he, felt nothing. It was that he refused to let raw emotion dictate his actions.
That's the core insight. The book stresses that anger is not impressive or tough. It's a mistake. It's weakness. True strength for the Stoics is in controlling those passions, not being swept away by them, maintaining that inner calm, that inner citadel, no matter what's happening outside.
Imagine the advantage that gives you, not just in boxing, but in a tense meeting, a difficult conversation, anything.
A huge advantage. And what strikes me again and again is just how practical all of this is designed to be. It's not just high-minded theory. It's about how you actually conduct yourself moment by moment.
Which brings us to some really solid, actionable advice from January 17th. Just begin the work. The rest follows. Simple as that.
Just
don't get lost in overthinking. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. Just begin. That seems very stoic. But, that's often easier said than done, isn't it? What about feeling overwhelmed or procrastinating or being afraid to fail? How does just begin actually break through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's where the Stoic focus on action over endless contemplation really helps. It's acknowledging that clarity usually comes from doing something, not necessarily before you do it.
Okay. So action leads to clarity.
Often, yes. Seneca pointed out how much time we waste just preparing to live instead of actually living. So just begin isn't about being careless. It's about dismantling that wall of perfectionism or that feeling of inertia. You break it down into the very first manageable step. Even a tiny step forward creates momentum.
Okay, so it shifts your focus away from the huge, scary end goal and on the immediate thing you can do right now.
Exactly. You're not trying to climb the whole mountain at once. Just take the first step. It takes the pressure off.
It's like that saying, you don't need to see the whole staircase, just take the first step.
Precisely that. And that's incredibly freeing, isn't it? Whether you're facing a big project, trying to start a new habit, or honestly just struggling to get out of bed some mornings, the Stoics got that the biggest hurdle is often just starting. Once you're moving, the next steps tend to become clearer.
So moving from that idea of starting to, well, continuing, the Daily Stoic itself is set up as a way to practice this daily. One meditation per day for every day of the year. And it encourages you to use a notebook alongside it, right? Just as the Stoics often did.
Yes, the journaling aspect is key. It turns reading into reflection and application. It makes it a ritual.
A daily ritual.
Exactly. For instance, January 21st and 22nd talk about specific morning and evening routines for self-check-ins. Like in the morning, asking yourself, okay, where might I lack freedom from passion today? What do I need for tranquility? It's proactive.
Setting the intention for the day.
Right. And then at night, you review, what bad habit did I manage to curb today? How am I slightly better, even just a tiny bit, than I was this morning? It's this ongoing, deliberate cycle of self-awareness and self-correction, not aiming for instant perfection, but for consistent, intentional effort.
And it really hammers home that this isn't just about reading interesting ideas. It's about living them. Stoicism isn't something you just, study for an exam. It's a practice you embody. I think May 3rd says something like, show, don't tell.
Exactly. Your actions become the evidence.
Right. It's about internalizing it so deeply that how you act, how you react, your whole character starts to reflect the philosophy. And another one, May 17th, points out that sustained execution, actually doing the work consistently, is way more important than having these shapeless epiphanies.
Oh, that's a good one. We all have those aha moments, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
But if you don't consistently try to live by that insight, it just fades. It stays an idea. The book reminds you that you never quite arrive at being the perfect Stoic sage. You're always in the process, always actively forming yourselves, shaping your character day by day. It's a journey, not a final destination.
And applying this ancient wisdom through that kind of structured daily practice feels incredibly relevant right now, doesn't it? The book calls philosophy medicine for the soul around January 31st.
Medicine for the soul. I like that.
Yeah. In our crazy, fast-paced, often overwhelming modern lives, Stoicism directly addresses those vulnerabilities. We feel the anxiety, the constant distraction, feeling like we're not enough. It aims to restore a sense of inner vigor.
So it pushes back against the chaos.
It really does. In a world throwing endless distractions and demands at us, many of which are, frankly, self-imposed, this structured approach offers clarity. It offers a way out of what the Stoics bluntly called self-imposed slavery, that feeling of being chained to obligations or desires that don't really serve you.
Which quote was that?
That was from March 4th. It's about achieving real freedom by living purposefully, intentional, instead of just being yanked around by every external stimulus or unexamined impulse. True liberation, starting from within.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, the Daily Stoic essentially provides this really practical, really powerful toolkit for dealing with, life, all its challenges. It keeps bringing you back to clarifying what's genuinely in your control, basically, your mind, your choices, your responses, and then acting from that place with intention and purpose. It's a path towards becoming maybe a slightly better, more resilient, and ultimately more calm human being, one day at a time.
One intentional choice at a time. And the ultimate payoff, the proper harvest, as Epictetus puts it on January 2nd, it's achieving tranquility, fearlessness, and freedom. Imagine living with that kind of deep inner peace. That's the goal.
That is quite the goal. So as you think about everything we've discussed, here's something to maybe reflect on. What unwinnable battles are you currently fighting in your own life? Things that are truly, honestly outside of your control.
We all have them.
We do. And then ask yourself, what if? What if you deliberately stop pouring your precious energy into those external frustrations? And instead, what if you channel that exact same energy inward, into managing the one thing you actually do possess and control your own mind, your own choices, your reactions? How might that shift, that focus inward, fundamentally change how you experience every single day?